All right, joining us right here on ET Now at this moment is the Deputy Leader of the Opposition in the Rajya Sabha, former Commerce and Industry Minister, Mr. Anand Sharma, joins us right here. And thank you very much, sir, for being with us. Mr. Jaitley has finally presented what is the final full-year budget for the Modi government. Next year will be a vote on account. My question to you really is, this is an election budget. This is a political budget. Many people believe this is a masterstroke, politically speaking, from the Modi government. They haven't gone whole hog populist, but they've done something for everyone in this budget. How are you going to dispute that?
I think it's full of platitudes, bunching together of statements of intent, just to tell the people that this government is trying to do something for everyone, but in fact it is not doing much. It is not sincere about its announcements. Otherwise the same would have been reflected in adequate budgetary allocations. Let me mention, first thing is that there is no economic roadmap for manufacturing. They could have created a manufacturing ecosystem by focusing on the national manufacturing investment zones, on the industrial corridors, which would have led to investments and job creation. Number two, there is a depressed investment climate, and the credit offtake for the industry is at a historic low. They should have taken some measures which would have boosted investment, but actually what will happen now, there will be flight of capital. Money is not going to be easily available. And the fiscal roadmap, in fact, will scare away the investors, because the fiscal deficit has gone out of control. If it's 3.5% and it may rise further, there's already a hardening of the bond yields and by 1%, and even if it goes up by another 0.5%, what will happen? That any economist can tell you. Also, the food and the commodity inflation is there, and the uncertain areas also about the oil prices. This government has profiteered. Windfall gains they have made at the cost of the consumer when there has been a sharp fall in the international crude prices. They have not passed on any benefit to the consumer. Even today, if it's $67,
yes,
the price is all-time high for petrol and diesel per litre.
Right.
And there is no announcement. Finance Minister could have given some relief. When it was $109 to a barrel for the import price for crude, then the price was less than what the price is today for diesel and petrol.
Yes,
but
Mr.
there are other areas where bona fide questions are there.
Right.
If you may allow me, shall I flag them?
Mr. Sharma, I have a direct question, sir. We were all talking about the agrarian mess, and the focus of this budget is the rural India, is Bharat. Many people are saying that. The question really is, they are committed to now increasing MSP on cost by 1.5 times. That is not platitude. They are walking the talk as far as the rural mess and resolving it is concerned.
No, they are not walking the talk. Listen, they are not walking the talk. Kindly read the budget. If you are talking of raising the MSP by 50%, then first the present scheme has to be changed. Number two, announcements have been made in the past on the agri sector which have never been implemented. Go by the last budget. For example, in the animal husbandry, in the dairy project, Cabinet is giving its approvals or go ahead only now, when almost a year has passed. This government is escaping accountability. Now, if MSP was to be raised, what is the procurement of the government? Less than 25%. That's a bitter reality. And when there is no institutional mechanism for procurement, and there is no budgetary provision made, if they want to raise it 50%, then there should have been a minimum 2 lakh crore of budgetary provision. Look at the allocation for agriculture. I'm afraid that is not there. Similarly, about the health insurance cover to 10 crore families, or 5 lakh. That means 50 lakh crore rupees. There should have been some provision for the payment of the premium. The premium, I have checked with the insurance industry, and at the lowest quotes will be 2.5 lakh crores. Where is the provision? So it is announcements being made, like in the past 4 budgets. Is this government willing to give an account of its performance or non-performance? How many of those institutions have come up? How many of those projects have been completed? Is the 5th budget which the Finance Minister has presented today? And what about jobs?
I'll come to jobs and all of that in just a bit, because there are incentives there. But my larger question to you is that this government was being criticized, was being attacked for being a soot boot ki sarkar. If you actually see what they have done is, they haven't given the big corporate tax rate cut for the big businesses. People were expecting that. Corporate India is disappointed. They have gone ahead and imposed a tax on capital markets, which is the investor community. So they are actually doing something that they were being attacked for. They are playing against the whole soot boot ki sarkar narrative.
Listen, not at all. Listen, I'm sorry to say, this government has not given anything to the poor. These are the hard facts and numbers which I am giving to you. It is not something which we are manufacturing. Most of the time the Finance Minister has said that by 2022, they got a mandate for 5 years. And this is the 5th budget. Now people of India have to wait for the achievement or non-achievement of those stated objectives. I am not in conflict with the objectives. I am talking about whether they are implementable. They are not. You ask any analyst, any economist, and look, you are talking about government for the poor. What about the social sector allocation? Show me where the increase is. Go by the last year numbers and go by the this year numbers. Even for Manrega, there is not even 1 rupee increase. Kindly look at the fine print of the budget. Everybody is going by the budget speech of the Finance Minister. Many people unfortunately have not read the budget and the allocations.
I do have a quick question to ask of you, sir. In its last year, the government wants to undo the rural stress. The government wants to undo the rural mess, and which is perhaps why, despite the narrative, they're coming out with a healthcare scheme that they're calling Modi Care. How are you going to look away from what they're proposing to do?
Listen, I have told you, it is in thin air. I have told you that who is going to pay the premium? The premium for this coverage will be 2.5 lakh crores. Show me even 25,000 rupees which have been provided for. From where will the insurance cover be there? You have made the announcement without making any provision. And same is the case for the MSP. You may make any statement that this is like the same statement of 2 crore jobs. And why there is silence on job creation? It is not about the rich who need the jobs, it's the poor, the rural poor and the urban unemployed.
Mr. Sharma, if you can please bear with me. I have just been joined by the Honorable Minister for Railways, Mr. Piyush Goyal also, and I think it's only fair that I get him to answer some of the questions that you have raised. Mr. Goyal, thank you very much for being with us. With both your kind permission, can I get a dialogue going between the two of you? And Piyush Goyal, Anand Sharma, an extremely senior member of the Congress party and the Deputy Leader of Opposition in the Rajya Sabha, says you've announced these big schemes. Where are the allocations? Whether it is Manrega or whether it's National Health Mission, midday meal scheme, etc., it will all get same or lower allocation. The Congress party believes you have failed the equity test.
Well, I think the Congress party cannot digest the fact that Prime Minister Modi, the most popular leader of the country, is focused on welfare of the poor, is focused on the farmers of this country, is focused to give a better quality of life to all sections of society. I just overheard his calculation of 2.5 lakh crore rupee premium for the healthcare scheme. I think he's completely off the mark. I don't know where he got that fanciful figure. Probably in the earlier regime, because they used to have a lot of corruption in their procurement, they could have spent 2.5 lakh crores. We will do it prudently. We will do it based on the very good healthcare facilities that we are developing across the nation, and we have the ability in India to provide good quality.
Strong objection to this.
all the
Right.
poor of this country
Right.
without having to spend 2.5
All
lakh
right.
crores every year.
All right, Mr. Anand Sharma,
addition to what facilities are
Piyush
already
Goyal's
there.
defense is they will
No,
not
listen,
have
I
to
will
spend
be
two
very,
and a
very
half
clear
lakh crore
about it.
rupees.
Allow me to say one thing very clearly. Popularity of the Prime Minister was shaken in Gujarat and now it has been actually trashed in Rajasthan today. So this is the arrogance of this government. It remains in denial that people are suffering. There is rural distress. There is rising unemployment.
I really want this to be a meaningful
if they are
discussion.
saying that it is a fancy number, Mr. Piyush Goyal, my friend, understands finance. From where is the provision made for the premium? How will you provide insurance cover to 10 crore families without making any provision for the premium for the insurance cover? Who is going to pay that? That's my question.
So let's keep this discussion to the budget. Let's not get into the politics of this. And Mr. Goyal, can you answer that question? How are you going to provide for this very ambitious Modi Care scheme that we are talking about?
Who started politics? Who started politics?
1 second, sir. Let him just answer that question, Mr.
Today,
Sharma.
the government of India.
You didn't ask him when he was berating us?
Supriya,
No.
Today, the government of India and the states.
Go ahead, Mr. Goyal.
I couldn't understand what he said, sorry.
Goyal, answer the question.
Well, today the government of India and the states already have very large infrastructure in the healthcare sector which needs to be leveraged more efficiently. After all, we have doctors, we have healthcare across the country, but we have not been able to leverage that to the extent of providing that facility to the poor of the country. Sadly, what Mr. Anand Sharma is assuming is that 10 crore families, everybody is going to need 5 lakh rupees healthcare every year. It doesn't work that way. How it works is that whenever you are in distress or you need help or healthcare, you should have that facility available very close to where you live or work, and that facility should be of a good quality. Today, unfortunately, that has not been leveraged in a holistic fashion. I can tell you I have facilities in which railways gives healthcare to millions of people across the country. Now, many of these facilities have surplus capacities. I'll be very comfortably able to give healthcare to a lot of people using my facilities. Similarly, different government and state government and PSU facilities across the country can all be collectively leveraged. So there are many ways in which this can be done efficiently. It's not a question of the premium calculation or how you're going to calculate that premium. It's not as if everybody needs that healthcare at the same time. I think it's a great comforting factor that people will not have to go to a money lender, borrow, and then live in distress all their life, debt distress, because of healthcare requirements.
Mr. Goyal and Mr. Sharma, I want to shift focus and talk to you about the rural focus of the budget. Just 1 second, Mr. Sharma. Mr. Goyal, you have promised a 1.5 times increase in MSP. You haven't been able to fulfill your election promise. How are you going to do that? Why should one be convinced that this will be done? Obviously, this is an election budget. Obviously, you'll be going into elections, and so the focus is on rural areas. I have a very simple question.
I'm sorry, Supriya, Supriya, it's not a simple question. It's you've not understood the budget then probably. We have not said 1.5 times increase in MSP.
On the cost.
We have said you will get a 50% increase over the cost of production while determining the MSP. Now we have, over the last 4 years, we've been increasing MSP every year while keeping costs low because inflation has come down to abysmally low levels. So we have kept the cost low and yet we've been able to increase the MSP. So in many products, the MSP is already 30%, 40%, 45% over the cost of production. We have assured that this will now be increased to 1.5 times the cost of production, and we stand committed to it, and we have ensured that that will be done within this year itself.
No quarrels with that argument. Mr. Sharma, will you have an issue with that? It's a very responsible way of increasing MSP. What can anybody's issue with that be?
They have not done anything for the first 4 years. Their procurement, listen, allow me, first of all, ask Piyush Goyal, what has been the procurement by the government? and the government agencies less than 25% of what the farmers produce. Secondly, where is the budgetary allocation to ensure that adequate provision is there even for 50% increase if they say, not 1.5 times, how much are you going to increase? Where is the provision? Everything is hanging in thin air. You made these big announcements. And what has been the increase in MSP over the last 4 years? Please, let's be honest about it. It's a matter of fact and record. If there was adequate MSP increase by this government and by the Prime Minister, as Mr. Goyal is claiming, then why there is rural distress? Please do your homework.
So let him
it's
come
from 3% to 20%. That's all what you have done in 4 years.
All right. So let him come in and answer that question for you. You've raised a question. Let the minister answer that. Mr. Goyal, please go ahead.
Supriya, it's very elementary. It's very elementary. A person, a business channel like yours will appreciate it. In the Congress regime, the inflation was in double digits. So even if they would increase the MSP, most of it was eaten away by inflation. So effective increase net of inflation was very nominal, in many cases not even there. While we have been able to bring down inflation to 3 and 4%, at times it had gone down to 2%. Because of that reduction in inflation, the cost of production has not increased like in the Congress times. So they are again and again harping on increasing MSP by a larger percentage. It was because of their incompetence to control inflation that they needed to increase MSP by those levels. Whereas we have focused on structural improvement to keep the inflation low. That was totally missing during the Congress time.
I have a quick last question to both of you, and that has to do with jobs.
It's a fact of life. I'm just correcting the perception.
Yes,
you just mentioned you increased the MSP by 20%, but that was because there was inflation which was in double digits.
Okay. May I please take the attention away from MSP and talk about jobs?
No,
and I will
that's
come
not
to.
True. Are you trying to give an impression that the farmers of the country are happy? Why are they agitating in every state?
Right,
why are they committing suicides?
Let's just.
You are in denial.
Okay, let's just.
You're misleading the audience.
Let's just leave the farmers aside for a minute, gentlemen. Let's just quickly talk about jobs because I know you're both short on time. I have to let you go. Mr. Goyal, does this budget do enough for job creation? Jobs is the big Achilles heel. It has got stuck into the statistical warfare of sorts right now. Why should one be convinced that there will be jobs created out of this budget? Mr. Sharma, I'll come to you. Let Piyush Goyal have a say at that. Mr. Goyal.
Well, I think the concept of jobs of the erstwhile good old days is no more relevant in the world today. Earlier, a job in the government sector, a job in a large plant was what people were aspiring and looking for. In the context of today, that has completely changed. For example, when I spend 1.5 lakh crores in the railways, capex, which by the way is 3 times what it was in 2013-14. About 50,000 crores then is now 3 times 1.5 lakh crore. 1/3 of that straight away goes into salary, wages, labor and creates that much working opportunities. Now that may not get captured as a job because there will be contract workers, there will be people doing different types of entrepreneurial work, people working in different ancillaries. Now you have your ET now. It was not existent 5 years, 10 years ago. You have cameramen, you have anchors, you have guest coordinators, you have the backroom guys, you have the OB vans, this whole infrastructure may not categorize as a job in the traditional sense, but it's the new age economy. When we talk of the IT sector, a lot of it is self-employment, a lot of it is entrepreneurial, a lot of startup companies coming up, tech companies coming up. The world has had a paradigm shift in the nature of work, nature of employment, nature of jobs, and India is engaging with that new world. The youth of India wants to work in the modern age with modern technology in the new way of working.
All right, Mr. Anand Sharma, Piyush Goyal defends that the nature of jobs have changed, and so the kind of jobs that could have been created 10 years back will no longer be created right now. We are a new age economy with new kinds of jobs. I will ask you to answer your question there, but I will also ask you a final word, sir. 1 second, sir. I will also ask you a final word. You have attacked this government for long being a suit boot ki sarkar. The reality today is that they have miffed the Indian corporates. They haven't cut corporate tax rates for the corporates. How are you going to then continue with that narrative? Go ahead, sir.
Will you ask me? No. I'm not, they have not obliged the poor by not doing that, I'm sorry. The finance minister has given the numbers also that who are the taxpayers. The salaried taxpayers are the highest numbers, and even the revenue collection from there. But I'm not getting into that area. What ecosystem have they created for manufacturing? We are not unintelligent that we don't understand that new technologies are there. What Piyush is referring to about the cameraman, the OB vans, have they arrived with Mr. Modi, or they pre-existed? They are trying to give an impression as if everything happened, technologies arrived, startups started only because of Shri Narendra Modi and the BJP government. They should not be that arrogant. One thing is very clear, that besides creating jobs and job opportunities in the rural sector, you have to create jobs in the outside the formal economy also, but also in formal economy.
Okay.
I'm not talking of government jobs. We never said that. But Prime Minister had promised that so many jobs will be created.
Right.
Those would be in the enterprises. Those would be in the micro, small and medium sector.
Right.
But that's the sector which has taken a body hit, with almost 30% of the units have closed. These are official reports.
All right.
Now this is the, you have to go by the data which is coming out. My question is very simple. Manufacturing was the area. What boost have you given in the last 4 years? Everything is languishing. What is the implementation record? What has happened to the national manufacturing zones? What has happened to your industrial corridors? These are the same ones.
Financial capital is Mumbai, and I myself am a Mumbaikar. And since the new age technology is coming out of Bangalore, which is the IT capital of India, I am delighted that the Honorable Finance Minister has approved a 17,000 crore rupee plan to create a suburban network in Bangalore, which will be about 160 kilometers, including elevated rail, which will transform the way people travel in Bangalore, and a 50,000 crore rupee investment in Mumbai, which will finally give 1/3 the train passengers. 80 lakh passengers travel in Mumbai suburban every day. Will finally give them good quality travel, safe travel, comfortable travel in Mumbai. First time a finance minister and a government have focused on Mumbai and the Mumbaikars,
right,
and the lifeline of Mumbai, which is the suburban railway. I want to thank the Prime Minister and Finance Minister, because that will have a great bearing on the financial capital and the IT capital.